Today is one of the best days of the year.
It is, at time of recording anyway.
Yes, it is Pancake Day!
Woo! And this
Favourite day.
is the Pancake Day special.
Yes. Yes, we are looking over the first of Paul McGann's run, really, on Big Finish.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with pancakes, what we're actually doing.
No, we just really want some pancakes.
Yeah, because somebody managed to corrupt the original recording when we sat down to do this video last week, which is why there's been a bit of a delay, because sometimes that just happens, and there was nothing I could do about it. It was gone.
Yeah, it is a bit rough. 40
minutes we recorded as well of like a really in-depth discussion about the first four Paul McGanns, and it was gone in a flash.
Yeah. It's great.
Love that for us.
Don't you just love technology?
I know, isn't it wonderful? Oh well, we're here now because we've alluded to this in the last couple of weeks where we've talked about I've been talking about Big Finish since we started doing this, and it's been nice to finally sit down and actually talk about stuff properly, because you have experienced bits and pieces of Big Finish before, haven't you? But never really sat down and...
No, I've not gone through... Yeah, I've not gone through a series by series. I've just sort of randomly picked stories / chose Dalek or Cyberman stories, because those are like... If you can do them well in Big Finish, it seems to be like a trademark for a lot of doctors. Yes, okay, a lot of people are going to come in for a Dalek or Cyberman story, but if you can actually execute it really well, like Rise of the Cybermen on the revival, it's great. It really does work. It's just when you have episodes like Nightmare and Silver, it just kind of puts you off.
Well, you're very lucky because Big Finish, I think, have produced Cybermen stories that are up there with some of the best Doctor Who stories in any medium ever.
Yeah,
to be honest. But should we crack on with it then?
Yeah. So the first introduction to Paul McGann in Big Finish is Storm Warning.
Yes, not chronologically the first one. Obviously, it takes. Obviously, we have the movie, and there's quite a big gap between the movie and this. Not going to spoil that anymore. If people know what I'm on about, they know what I'm on about. He doesn't, so no spoilers.
Yes, we'll get on to that eventually, though. I'm sure
we will.
Yeah. So yeah, this is kind of a reintroduction to Paul McGann as the Doctor. This does a lot for him and setting up Charlie as well to be the companion for the run.
Yeah, I mean, I love this because it's got that vibe of a new series opener. It's like you can imagine this being episode 1 of like a first season. I don't know what it is about it. I think it's the fact that it balances the character introductions as well as the plot, and neither one try and outdo each other. They both equally, because you can have episodes that are quite plot heavy and the sort of characters are just there to move it along, or vice versa, you have a really strong character piece where the plot is sort of, it's there, but it's there to establish the motivations or whatever's going on with the characters. But this is perfectly matches. We've got this cool setting of the R101, which is a real airship from British history that did not go very well. I had to say that as it crashed and everyone died.
Yeah.
It's pretty much as badly as it could possibly go, actually.
And of all places, it had to be France as well.
I know.
Poor guys. Anyway.
Enough of speaking ill of the dead and a horrible airship disaster. Paul McGann slips right back into the Eighth Doctor here after not playing him since the TV movie. And it's a role that, I mean, the other Doctors played for a couple of years. Paul McGann did for, a few months of his life.
Yeah.
But in this, just comes straight back into it. And I think Big Finish gives him a bit more, because the TV movie is so bogged down in all the plates that it's spinning. And it's not that I don't hate the TV movie as much as other people do.
No, it's enjoyable, but it's...
Yeah, it's definitely flawed.
Yeah, heavily.
It's definitely flawed. It's not a masterpiece by any stretch, but I don't think it's as terrible as everyone makes it out to be.
No, I'll still sit down and watch it. I do enjoy it quite a bit.
I watched it last weekend, actually, when I was having me fry up.
Oh, nice.
But this, it's got, I don't know what it is, but it's more like he's got more to work with, and he's bringing more of what he clearly wanted to do with the part had this movie had gone on to be a full-on series. He's bringing that fun to it, that fun, quirky element, but he's also bringing the more serious mavity to it, See what I did there? I didn't have that one planned.
Okay.
Like I said, second time filming this, and I've done that job twice.
Yeah. Let's move on then to talk about how good India Fisher is.
So underrated. I don't know how India Fisher's not a bigger actress than she is. I mean, I know MasterChef probably keeps her, seen through the year, because there's about 47 different versions of MasterChef now. But She's brilliant. I think she's got such an energy to her that makes Charlie feel like a real sort of. I think Charlie is not meant to be a teenager in terms of like Susan. I think she's meant to be like the usual 19, 20, the early 20s kind of.
Yeah, not quite an experienced adult, but on the way.
Yeah, she's got that spark about her that brings Charlie to life. I mean, I don't really like Tories, but Charlie's family definitely were Tories. But she's breaking away from that sort of middle class upbringing and that sort of, you must do this and you must do that and you must do this and you must do that. She's gone on and thrown it all in the bin for a sense of adventure because she's got to get to Singapore for a date.
Yeah, a date, but it may not be a date. She's just going anyway and living in hope, and we move. But she don't know if he's going to be there, because when they discussed this, he laughed apparently and said, "Yeah, yeah, I do feel for her." And then she has to portray a bloke for a bit as well.
Yes, interestingly, because obviously this is the 1930s. Not many female cabin crew and passengers and staff members on board this airship. So she gets the other fella blindingly drunk before they take off, steals his uniform and sort of masquerades as him, which is, as plans go, it's a pretty solid plan, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of need a dossier for that, because she didn't put the accent. She didn't have the accent that the guy she was impersonating did.
Yeah.
So she had to put it on, and it was,
the West Country accent that she does. But that's not the most questionable accent you'll hear in this production, though. That's saying something.
Rathbone.
Yeah. So we have a few different characters few different characters on the ship, and I think Charlie does a good way of, she does a good as holding her own as the only female character in the whole story. Yeah. Human character anyway. Because she's on a ship full of men, and she holds her own. She brings enough to the part to, stand out quite a lot from the crowd. And we have an interesting guest cast. We've got Gareth Thomas, famous for playing Blake in Blake 7. Here is absolutely brilliant as Tamworth, who's the big boss of the airship, Mr. Big Cheese.
I think he's an underrated character in this as well.
He is, because it's quite easy for him. He falls into very much the leader of these base under sieges, because this is a base under siege story essentially. And quite a lot of the time you'll have the leader of the base, and they're not really clicking with the Doctor, and they're always clashing. And he does that to start off with, but he does sort of quite mellow as such, but he does go into trusting the Doctor and work. They have a more cooperative relationship as it goes along.
And he gets quite a bit of development in the story as well.
Yeah.
It kind of makes you feel for him at the end.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is good.
Barnaby Edwards plays a character called Rothbone, and he's South African. And it's one of the most stereotypical South African accents I've ever heard, and it takes me out of it because it's not like it's grossly offensive, because it's just so over the top. Like, the way he delivers all of the lines to just turn it to 11, and that's before you even get to the accent. He's very, very over the top. I am Rathbone and I am from South Africa. Do you know what I mean, doll? It's like
that is bloody spot on, to be fair.
Maybe it was me all along. No, I wasn't, because I was one when this came out.
Just doing that as a 1-year-old. Can't speak words, but I can impersonate a South African.
I'm ready for a nap now.
You can't speak normal English.
That would be really weird, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
coming out with a full-on different accent, but then not being able to speak normally.
Well, normal for your area, yeah.
That's what I mean, like your normal, what would be your normal accent? Yeah, that'd be bizarre. Anyway, sidetracking again. What the hell, these South African accents got us all confused, doll. I'm going to stop doing that now, because I don't want to take the piss for a change.
Yeah.
I like the setting of the R101. I think it works quite well, because it's the kind of thing that, because it's such a big, vast airship, on TV it almost might look a bit bland.
Yeah.
Because it is just this, it's a big balloon.
Yeah, with a couple of doors on it,
Yeah, and I think that when they go to meet the aliens later on as well, because their ship is meant to be colossal, even bigger than the R101. Everything could look quite vast and open. On TV, it might look a bit flat, whereas on audio, it doesn't, because obviously you haven't got that visual medium to compare it to.
Yeah,
and I think it's great. I think the only thing is, I would say that not the twist, but the shift, because part 1 and 2 is very much your base under siege, slow burn mystery of who's the passenger in cabin 34, and what's all this disturbance going on, and then boom, episode 3 and 4 just completely flips it, and it goes into, this is Doctor Who, this is sci-fi, this big alien spaceship, goes a bit crazy, and it's not bad. It's not like it goes from being good to bad. It's just because it's such a drastic flip.
Yeah, it's a big 180.
It's a bit jarring almost in a way. But I think overall it's a really strong start to the series.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I do listen to this one quite a lot. It is one of my favourites of the Eighth Doctor, and I think it's so important to start solidly. To be fair,
and it's nice to see, because obviously skipping to the end of this one, spoilers if you haven't listened to it.
It's nearly 25 years old.
Yeah, but I mean,
what year are we in?
24.
It's 23 years old. Where have you been?
I'm not going to answer that.
I wasn't asking you.
Good. So the R101 crashes. The Doctor's got Charlie out of there, and then big boom boom. Charlie escapes with the Doctor on the back of a Vortisaur, which would be cool to see in as a creature. See, especially now with the Disney budget. Just saying. They could probably do this audio.
Let's see if they can do a corridor properly first before we start.
Yeah, we'll do that. But then the Doctor's realised he's made a slight boo-boo with time in saving Charlie.
Temporal error.
Yes, slight, minor. Could cause problems.
Because Charlie was in fact meant to die.
Yeah.
But because the Doctor has saved her, that's going to have dire consequences for the web of time, as it were, and the...
Yeah, because it was a fixed point, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
well, it's
and no.
It's sort of one of those things where, like, we've seen fixed points change before, but it's never been good. You either have the Reapers or everything goes on at once, and just bits in time start to unravel and not quite make sense. And it's a drip-feeded mystery, which I think as we go on, there'll be more and more hints that things are going slightly askew.
It doesn't seem to kind of hint to it too much at the moment in these 4 stories.
No, it's more of a, when we get to the second batch, this is very much the setup.
Yeah.
So speaking of this batch, the second story, Sword of Orion, what do you think of that one?
Love it.
Ooh.
Really good episode. Great Cyberman story, to be honest.
Pretty good.
Yeah. It's nice you get the return of the Cybermats as well, which I think are underrated a little bit as a part of the villain faction.
I think they're quite they're quite a funky little specimen. I think when I think of them, I do think of like the 60s black and white Cybermen stuff, which for me is when the Cybermen are at the strongest in the TV show, Wheel in Space not included. But this one though is a very typical Nick Briggs script. Now, obviously, Nick Briggs you will know as the voice of the Daleks and everything, but he started out in Doctor Who by doing Big Finish. He was the producer, essentially director for a few things. He was sort of very much the executive producer. He's now the executive producer of the whole company. He's the co-chairman of the whole company. And he got his gig doing the Dalek voice on TV from doing the Daleks and the Cybermen in Big Finish. That's what got, because Russell Davies was like, I think that's pretty good for a Dalek. Like, let's get them on the show. So that's how Nick Briggs started off. But he's originally a writer and director for Big Finish. That's where he got his break and everything, I suppose, in the Doctor Who, in the terms of things. And he has 3 or 4 different patterns, I would say, not to try and sound like I'm diminishing his work or anything, but there are, patterns that you'll notice, and there's one in the next batch as well, which is also written by Nick Briggs, where it's very much there's another base under siege. It's cut off from a lot of other people, and there's a gruff crew of, rough spacefarers, and things going wrong. But this is... The twists and stuff in this are not anywhere near as good as he can be, and you'll find that out soon. But this is very much a Nick Briggs script. It's very grimy. You can almost feel the sort of dystopian futureness to it in a way. I think the world building for the market at the start is really good, and it shows Charlie that she's already, very much developed as a strong character. She gets sort of, harassed by an alien merchant, and she responds by punching him in the face. She doesn't take any nonsense. I think one of the things with this, though, for me, is that the Cybermen aren't utilised as well as they can be, because they're built up really cool and very atmospherically for the first half. They're not, like, just thrown straight into it. It's very much like they're in the background, sort of monitoring things and bringing themselves more into the focus as the story goes on. But I think that I just wish there'd been a bit more of them, because this is Big Finish's first ever Cyberman story. They'd already used the Daleks with them. I think it was Sylvester McCoy by this point, but they hadn't done Cybermen yet. So this is their big reintroduction to, performed Doctor Who. And I think the pacing with this is weird, because the first episode is very much adventure, and then it's quite slow, and it's a slow build, but not necessarily in a bad way. I think that it's carried very well by the sound design, which is also, I think, by Nick Briggs in this story. And the sound design makes it very atmospheric and very creepy. There's a vibe to it that I can't quite describe.
It's unsettling, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very much like a sort of... I think the closest thing that I could think of would be like Alien, the first one, where it's that sort of creepy, slow burn mystery, and just replace the alien with the Cybermen.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a bit different. It's a little bit less... Only a little bit, mind.
Yeah. I mean, you see well, you don't see them. You hear them killing people. The Doctor and Charlie get blamed for one of the crew's deaths, even though it wasn't their fault.
Yeah.
But then you get to see, I believe this is the first instance of Cybermen mind control on humans.
I think it could be, actually. I mean, without having them completely plugged into everything, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously with with New Who, you've got the earpods in Rise of the Cybermen Age of Steel. You've got them again in
Army of Ghosts.
Army of Ghosts and Doomsday. You've got
Next Doctor as well. They've got the steampunk
Next Doctor,
version.
steampunk ones.
Yeah.
And you've also got the with the kids in Nightmare in Silver. While it's a crap episode, their control, I mean, that was pretty cool. Nice way of changing it up was the way of cyber control on that one.
Yeah, I think, because I can't really think of many examples in the old series. Usually, like, they control people through sort of like either bribery and stuff, not physically taking over their... I think the closest that I can come to is like Attack of the Cybermen, but even that's when they've been sort of partially converted and stuff like that. This is, yeah, I think you might have spotted a little trend there. There maybe have been something in the books or comics, I don't know. My area of expertise can only stretch so far.
Yeah.
But
no, the world building does work very well in this. You feel very much engrossed in where they are at the time. Like with the stuff in the marketplace, you got all the background sound of everything going on around them.
Yeah.
And them talking, and the Doctor just waffling, and Charlie just probably there like
nodding along. Yeah.
Yeah. just smiling and nodding like a lot of men do when they're being... Oh, so I've been told anyways.
Good save. Yeah, there's definitely a sort of vibe of smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave.
Yeah.
With Charlie. But yeah, overall, I think I forgot a lot of nostalgia, especially for these first two, because I remember hearing these a lot because my dad had the original CDs and I've since replaced them because I just knackered them out and didn't look after them as well as they could have been, which is probably sacrilege now because they're all out of print. But I did replace them. But I remember hearing these a lot, and especially for some reason, I don't know if there was just like the first disc went missing or something, but part 3 and 4 I remember very vividly. I don't know what it is. I think it must have been something along those lines.
I mean, when I've re-listened to these ones, because I've re-listened to this first batch quite a bit, parts 3 and 4, well, 3 mostly, more than 4, I really enjoy. I'd say 2 and 3 for me are...
I think the only thing that lets down, which I won't spoil for people, is the twist is quite obvious regarding one of the members of the crew, but won't give it away because you should all go and listen to it because it's very good. Hello, me again. To cut a long story short, I've made a mistake. I've corrupted some files for the videos that we were supposed to be putting out. That's why it's been a bit slow recently. So this video has been split into 2. Hopefully you just enjoyed us talking about the first 2 Paul McGann main range audios. And next week you'll get the other 2. And then after that we should be back to regular-ish programming. So yeah, this is me just apologising for messing it up. So hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, you know what to do. Please give it a like, a share. If you've listened to the stuff that we've talked about, leave us a comment, let us know what you think. And yeah, we'll be back with some more organised, hopefully, touch wood, and a bit less chaotic next week, but I can't promise anything.